It's pretty cool. I'm just so proud of everyone for pulling these things together. It was a pretty short notice, but we are noticing major signups on our Mobilize at this point here in Medford. We do expect a couple thousand people out there on the sidewalks here, but it's hard to tell. I mean, until everyone shows up. But we know a bunch of people that have gone to DC to be at the big rally as well back there. A friend of mine sent a picture of her umbrella that she's afraid it's going to rain on Saturday, so she got a clear umbrella, and she wrote in big Sharpie letters "hands off" all around the umbrella, so that if she's out there, at least she can still without it protect her sign and still see. So it's
Nice.
pretty cool.
And remember, the smaller the community you're in when you go to these events, the more important it is to share your photos. I notice, Rachel Maddow has really been trying to emphasize those places that people across the country aren't used to hearing about. Saying there's a protest in Portland is like saying it's raining in Portland.
Yep.
Um,
So be sure to tag her on Blue Sky. If you're on Blue Sky, that's how we got our Cliff Notes picked up by the Rachel Maddow show when we did that. So if you're on Blue Sky, make sure your pictures are on there. If you aren't, send them to us at coinedleadership@gmail.com, and we'll try to post a good selection of them there and tag the show. So maybe you'll see yourself on Rachel.
I think there's a real hunger all over the country, in Oregon and elsewhere, to get out and protest and to tell people in Washington what it is that we really want. And I'm hoping that this is the first, well, it's not the first because the Tesla ones are going on every week, but I'm hoping that we're going to be having more of these as we move on, because I think they're very important to keep people's spirits up and to make people feel that they're being heard.
Absolutely.
I was at the Tesla rally on Macadam on Saturday, and it was a party. And there was at least, I mean, it was close to 1,000 people. It was just amazing. Everybody was having fun. The age group was, I mean, it was all ages. So that's, I think, a precursor to what we're going to see on Saturday. And the weather's going to be fine on Saturday. So get out there, everybody.
I don't know. I just came in and I just heard that Susan Crawford has been declared the projected winner on MSNBC.
Yep.
That's
That's
Yay.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right over the top of my screen here, I'm watching Rachel at this point, so I can confirm.
And if you have to win one, that's the best one to win.
Yeah, exactly. I think the voter ID one's gonna unfortunately be passed, but it looks like Crawford is winning. So
Well, Senator Merkley, we are expecting you all to put a stop to that in the Senate.
It's time to go. It's 7
all
o'clock.
right, 7:01. I'll turn it over to Laura and Bobby. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Senator Merkley. We're very excited to have you here, especially on a day like today where it's been really exciting for Democrats, probably for the first time in 2 months. So you and the other Senate Democrats helped Senator Cory Booker hold the Senate floor beginning last night for a record-breaking time, making the case against the Trump regime. And we hope that'll inspire people to stand up and continue to take action. Can you talk about what that was like on the Senate floor today and what else you and others in Congress, despite the Republican control, can do to lead and inspire?
You bet. I sure can. Are you ready for me to just jump in?
Yes,
Laura?
go ahead.
Okay, well, first, greetings everyone in the Indivisible community. I do absolutely love your grassroots networked action. It is just fabulous. It's lonely and depressing to be disturbed alone. It's empowering and effective to be with others saying we've got to change this situation. And I do want to celebrate for a moment Susan Crawford winning in Wisconsin. That's incredible. And I must say we came reasonably close in Florida, given that these were districts that were 36% in one case and 30% Trump win when he ran for president, and so that was cut down substantially in the outcome, and it's scaring Republicans that maybe they're way off track, and they really are way off track. And then let's just recognize that what happened today was historic with Cory Booker speaking for 25 hours. I am no longer the member of the caucus with the longest speech. You might recall I filibustered for 15 and a half, which seemed like a lot against the stealing the Supreme Court seat. And and Cory went for 25 hours, and he went in such a fabulous fashion, summoning all of the spirit of the civil rights movement, of the campaign for opportunity for every American in America. He laid out that the Republican plan consists essentially of families and individuals lose and billionaires win. And why would we want to go that direction? Let's instead go in a direction in which we have families and individuals winning and billionaires paying their fair share of taxes. It was beautiful. It was powerful. And it also was incredible in that the record for the longest speech in the Senate was a record of a filibuster against civil rights. And now the record goes to Cory Booker, who, as a Black American, sits in the Senate, one of the most effective voices I've ever heard, and is an advocate not for discrimination and racism, but for equality and opportunity. So that is really just hugely, hugely exciting. And then I want to pivot to just tell you what you already know. A lot of what I'm going to say, you already know because you all are engaged and you're paying attention. But I think it's worth saying anyway. We are in the midst of a constitutional crisis. We have an aggressive authoritarian president who is steamrolling a very acquiescent legislature and a captured court. And if you look around the world, you see how republics are lost. That is, republics that actually have separation of power and checks and balances. They're lost through an acquiescent legislature, a captured court, and an aggressive authoritarian president. It's what we have right now. And we all together, all of you in Indivisible across Oregon, Indivisible across the country, other grassroots movement, those of us who are champions for our republic inside the Senate and inside the House, we're going to stop it. It's not going to succeed, but it is going to be an epic battle. And so that is why it matters so much that we spread the word and we get maximum engagement by American citizens. We will also stop this families lose, billionaires win agenda. And, you know, every day people say to me, what can we do? And again, I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but I tell them three things. Get off the couch. You can't change the world curled up in a fetal position on your couch, as tempting as that might be. And I must say, I spent a few days in that after the last election. But then you get off the couch. And then you hold your elected leaders accountable. You call them, you mail them, you show up to the rallies, you rally outside their offices, and you join an affinity group because it's so much more empowering to work with others. You're so much more likely to attend events and to find friends and renew your passion and your hope in the future and your belief that you can change the world. And to change,
it's on, Christine.
You absolutely have to believe that it's possible. And that's what happens when you're part of a group like Indivisible.
Well, are you ready for me to go on to the next question, or do you want to?
I could do that. I had a whole series of thoughts to share with you all, but let's do it in terms of your questions. I'm just getting on my own soapbox here to.
I love it. If you want to keep going, but we do have about 11 or 12 questions that.
Okay. Well, let's go with your agenda. It's your forum.
Okay.
All right.
And so this question kind of fits in a little bit with what you were saying. And so It is. More than a third of eligible voters did not vote in the 2024 presidential election. What efforts are you aware of, if any, for the Democratic Party and others to reach out to these potential voters? And how do we help voters believe that there's a connection between voting for Democratic or progressive leaders and a free society and programs and policies they care about and depend on?
So one factor is it takes neighbor to neighbor conversations. And within the Democratic Party, we've been organizing in Oregon these neighbor to neighbor efforts where one person undertakes essentially to go and knock on the door of somewhere around 30 to 50 individuals and do that multiple times during the election cycle, because it makes people feel like, oh, you know, this is important. It's important to my neighbors. It should be important to me. I remember that in a republic, it doesn't thrive if we're not engaged, but it also allows them to start having conversations and thinking about what they care about and how that can be achieved through elections. The second thing is that we have to lay out a vision that is exciting to people. And there's a lot of cynicism, and I must say, a lot of that cynicism is justified. But we have a choice. We have a choice to accept a system that is terribly rigged for the powerful over the people, or to change it. And each generation has to get renewed energy to say it takes work to save the vision of government by and for the people. It takes energy, it takes action, because, you know, the powerful, they have lawyers, they have lobbyists, they have media campaigns, they have regular campaign money in abundance, they have dark money. And so we must counter that with an inspiring opportunity to say we can make this nation work a lot better. And here's the vision, here's the agenda, here's the concrete actions on healthcare, housing, education. And by the way, part of that vision has to be to reform the filibuster in the Senate, because we cannot pass legislation for the people if there is the equivalent of a 41 vote veto. 41 senators say something can't be debated, you can't debate it. That's absolutely unacceptable. It's not like, I don't argue for getting rid of the filibuster. I do argue for the talking filibuster, which makes it hard for the minority will have a voice, but not a veto. I'll just sum it up that way.
Thank you.
I could follow up on that, Senator Merkley. I agree. A lot of people have said the Democratic Party has trouble with its populist economic message and getting it out there. But I really wonder if that's what the problem is, because I don't know of anyone who was more populist and had a clearer message than Kamala Harris. And I'm just wondering if the problem was really more overwhelming disinformation from MAGA and the Republicans that we need to do a better job combating.
Well, okay, so one of the big challenges we have, and there's no easy answer to this, is America is really divided into two different media bubbles. And, you know, this weekend I'll be out in, yes, assuming I'm not having to stay to debate all weekend in DC, which I might be, but I'm scheduled to be in 5 counties in Oregon doing town halls. And they're going to be all very red counties in Central Oregon. And then 2 weeks later, I'll hit another 11 on a 4-day swing. But when I go to the red counties, what I realize is people have been watching and living in a far-right media bubble. And it's very hard to penetrate that bubble. I mean, it's not like if you are glued to Fox News and your neighbors are glued to it, it really becomes a culture, and a culture that demonizes, if you will, the work that we're doing to create government by and for the people, and creates disinformation about what's going on. So that is a big challenge. That is one reason I go to red counties. That's the reason I encourage a neighbor-to-neighbor program where you can sign up and go talk to your neighbors and create connections. And that's one thing that Indivisible has done, is connect people who live in areas where there is that kind of red media bubble, and some of you can speak to that and much more powerfully than I can. So yes, disinformation is a challenge. All of that money that's spent on that dark money that's spent on slandering candidates and building a vision by and for the powerful, but they don't say we want you to vote for us because we want to be by and for the powerful. Think about what Trump did. Trump campaigned on helping families. And what's he doing now? He's screwing families over in order and cutting the programs in healthcare, housing, education in order to give massive tax giveaways to billionaires. And so it's a great betrayal, but we have to educate people about that. We have to point that out.
Thank you.
So following up on that, it seems to me that the Democrats need to do a better job of pointing it out, that we need to do things. I mean, maybe like what Cory Booker did, but things that are unexpected that get lots of news coverage. So, for example, I read somewhere that the Democrats have signed on to a lot of the lawsuits that are pending now, and I had no idea. And I consider myself a very knowledgeable person on politics. I follow everything. I read voraciously. And so maybe people don't know a lot of the things that the Democrats are doing.
Yeah, that's a lot more than you showed me. That's it for both of us? And have that, I gave you all of it.
I think somebody's not on mute.
Yeah.
Remember to mute yourselves, everyone.
Or mute all.
So my question is, are there other kinds of media things that the Democrats can do? And should they be, I mean, my feeling is they should be doing things every day, but how can we break through these bubbles and actually get people to hear our messages?
So this being Cory Booker Day, I want to note that in this question of messaging, Cory Booker is an incredible champion. He's probably the most effective messenger in our caucus, along with Elizabeth Warren, Raphael Warnock. But in terms of really understanding how people are getting information and how to connect with them. So he has been saying to us and showing us the stats from this last election, how we were massively out communicated because people aren't getting their news much through the traditional media. So, I earlier today was on CNN, but so what? Or MSNBC. Well, yeah, a lot of people watch it, but not a high percent. So much more information is getting to people through, I'm sorry to say, things like TikTok and Facebook and so forth. And so he's basically saying we have to wake up and realize that the world changed and Republicans understood that change far before we did. I'll tell you, for me, this is hard. I mean, I come to politics as a policy person. So I am more concerned about the steak than the sizzle, more concerned about the walk than the talk. But what I know, and I think the point you're making is we have to also be better, not just having the steak and the walk, we also have to have the sizzle or the talk. And so he's working to have us do a better job than that, because it isn't about being right and ineffective is not where we want to be. We want to have the right vision and succeed in implementing that vision. And that's going to take doing a lot better job on the communication end.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to talk to you about the budget in the wake of the continuing resolution. You put out a message today about that. Can you tell us what's happening with that?
That I can, and I'm the lead Democrat on the budget committee, and so I've been absolutely immersed in this. And I'm going to try to give a very short primer about this, and that is that back in 1974, 100 senators said, let's create a filibuster-free superhighway, including Robert Byrd of West Virginia, and for one purpose, reducing the deficit. And that worked for 22 years. In 1996, though, Republicans decided that they wanted to do a big tax bill. And the big tax bill was going to increase the deficit. So they reinterpreted the deficit reducing superhighway to be a superhighway for tax giveaways for the powerful. And we call that a nuclear option. So they completely violated the understanding. However, it was constrained in that the agreement was they could only increase the deficit through these new tax loopholes for 10 years. What they're doing right now is saying, wait, we want to make those tax giveaways or those tax loopholes permanent, and we want to hide their impact on the debt. So they're doing something called, as a baseline to compare the future with the present, called current policy rather than current law. And that means that tax provisions that were designed to end and therefore extending them would cost a lot of money, they'll pretend it costs zero. I'll put it this way, extending the 2017 tax provisions over the next 30 years, because they're now going beyond 10 years, will cost $37 trillion in additional debt. And they want to be able to tell the American people, it didn't cost a penny. We didn't add a penny to the debt. And that's just a massive lie. And they're also abandoning another key principle from that 1974 agreement that 100 senators signed on to. And that was that in order to have an honest debate in the Senate, and in order to have an honest debate with the American people, they would use numbers from the Congressional Budget Office, which was set up by that law. So you have a nonpartisan source of information rather than basically, deceptive numbers. Well, so one, they wanted to make their tax cuts permanent. Two, they want to hide the money. And three, in order to do that, they're going to toss overboard the independent cost analysis done by CBO. So what is embedded in their vision? Their vision is roughly, and I say roughly because they haven't actually shared the budget resolution with the world yet. They may have tonight, but they hadn't as of earlier today. And that vision was roughly, and I'll just base it on the House version. The House version was, we're going to cut programs for families by $1.5 to $2 trillion. We're going to, and this is over just the 10-year period. And then we're going to, over that same 10-year period, do $4.5 trillion in tax extensions. And we're going to borrow $2.5 to $3.5 trillion in order to pay for it, in addition to the cuts to programs. So that's the vision: more debt, more destruction of programs that families rely on to thrive, and more wealth transfer to the richest Americans. That's the vision of what they're up to. They decided today that instead of trying to get the parliamentarian to give a thumbs up to throwing CBO's analysis overboard, they're just going to bypass the parliamentarian and just declare that the budget chair can use any baseline the budget chair wants to in order to hide the debt and hide the tax giveaway to the wealthy. So that's the basic vision of what's going on now. It's two steps. The first is budget resolution that lays out the numbers of what they're aiming for in committee for money raised and revenue raised. And the second piece will be the actual bill that changes the programs to accomplish those levels. The House and Senate are still far apart in many, many ways. This story has a long time to go, and we're just going to keep branding it what it is: families lose and billionaires win, and that's wrong. We should have families winning and billionaires paying their fair share.
Do you
Would you
have
have time?
any
Go ahead.
options here? I mean, can you do something because they bypassed the parliamentarian? Don't they have to go to the parliamentarian? I know they don't have to follow her advice, but don't they have to use her?
What they're going to argue, we believe, based on a number of comments today, is a section is called Section 312 power, in which it says the Senate can use budget numbers provided by the budget committee. And that was never intended to override using CBO numbers. That was to address a quirk or an anomaly or something of that nature. But they're saying, hey, we're just going to completely throw CBO overboard and just let the budget chair make up a baseline numbers, and that the law allows it because there's this one provision in section 312. And if they have the majority, we can make a point of order that is completely wrong, is completely inconsistent with 51 years now of precedent since the 1974 bill. But then they will say, well, we'll turn to the body to vote on your point of order, and they will defeat our point of order. And so the answer is yes, they can probably do this because they have a majority.
And I'm told that we need to let you go, Senator. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, we're just getting started. I mean,
I mean, you can talk to your staff, but they're telling me we need to let you go.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Indivisible. In a number of my town halls, you all have connected and turned out massive numbers of people and the energy. And I just feel like if we don't have citizen action now, we will lose our republic. So what you're doing is not just important in this moment. This is the entire future of the nation. Never before have we had a president who has willfully violated the law, saying, I don't care. And think about what the Supreme Court has already done. They said, hey, the president cannot ever be accused of violating the law as long as he says it's a government act. He can shoot you, shoot me. It doesn't, as long as he says he did it for national security and documents it as an act of the government, there is no such thing as the president breaking the law. Then you take a president who says, I will use pardon power for anyone who gets in trouble doing the things I want them to do in the executive branch. Now you have the entire executive branch above the law. That's what we are facing right now, an entire executive branch above the law, a Supreme Court that created that condition with their law case last year, an acquiescent legislature, and an acquiescent legislature in which there was one power, which was Democrats in the Senate, that could have stopped that continuing resolution 2 weeks ago Friday. And as you know, I passionately disagree with what the Senate Democrats did. What a small number of the Senate Democrats did in allowing a partisan continuing resolution go forward that creates slush funds for Trump to use against members of the House and Senate who stand up to him. So we strengthened a basically tyrant Trump. And what I know looking around the world is when you are confronting someone trying to overturn your republic, you confront them with everything you have. You don't say they're so powerful, we'll confront them later. So we made a mistake, but we're not going to make that mistake when the government funding runs out at the end of September. We're not going to make that mistake any day between now and then. We're going to use every action we can to carry this battle in partnership with grassroots America. So God bless you all, and I'll see you down the road at the protests. And
thank you, Senator Merkley. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Care. You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone, for being there. That was great. I have to go back and listen to that whole budget section again one more time to get it, because it's really deep. I mean, I just trying to figure out if somebody was to ask me, how do I explain this to somebody else? And I think Mel responded in the chat, explain it to your cat till you think it gets it. And that's kind of what it feels like. And my response was maybe John Oliver will take it on, because if anybody can explain the hard stuff, it's John Oliver. So we're going to hope he takes it on in the next couple of weeks. So thanks to Senator Merkley for showing up tonight and for giving us a lesson in these things. We wish we could have kept him longer. His staff was poking on the other side, so we had to let him go. At this time, I want to talk a little bit briefly about our convention that's coming up in June. And I'm going to turn this over to Teresa, who's been trying to commandeer this.
Oh, I didn't know I was on mic when I said that. Hello. So we are having a coinvention, which will be an opportunity for indivisibles from all over the state to gather. And the weekend date that we have set aside for that is June 6th through the 9th. So Friday night will just be a no-host meet and greet for people who want to get there a little bit early. We'll start the convention on Saturday morning and go all day. And then also on Sunday, we'll end a little bit early at 3 o'clock. We're still looking for topics and ideas that our members are most interested in learning about. We're trying to build out a good agenda for you all. Some of the people that we have or ideas that we have coming are to do an in-depth study on tyranny. I can blanking out on who did that. Tim Snyder. Tim Snyder is on tyranny. And then we're going to do some grassroots training. People from the ACLU have already reached out to us to see if they could come. And we're going to have some instruction on how to lobby, because on the Monday after the weekend ends, which will be June 9th, we're planning on whoever wants to stay over to do a lobby day, we will do that. We'll do some de-escalation training, and the rest we want you to help us with and fill in. And I wonder if Debbie could put into the chat that little form that was sent out today, so that maybe people on the call could fill it out. What are you interested in knowing about?
Okay, I just put it in the chat, and it's also going to be, it was also in the meeting reminder that went out today, and it'll be in the newsletter that goes out tomorrow as well.
And anyone who is interested, we've had a couple of meetings, but we're still pretty much in the beginning stages of planning. And if planning large events is something that interests you, reach out to us and let us know. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a team meeting to talk a little bit more and just keep developing things so that we can have a really enriching and fun experience for everybody to gather. We'll open it up to all of the members to sign up for if you're available that weekend. But if we get overfilled at our top number that we can have is 250, we reach that mark, we might have to ask groups to just pick 3 or 4 people from their group to send, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So if you're interested, let us know, and we'll start keeping numbers of who wants to come as well. That was a weird message. Anyway, that is all I have to say about it, unless anybody has questions.
A lot of people are asking where, Teresa.
Oh, did I not say that? We're going to be in Salem at the Capitol so that we can go to Lobby Day on Monday. I'm sorry if I missed saying that. So with the place that we're going to be is a Heritage Center, which is about a 10-minute walk from the Capitol. And it's a really cool building. It was used to be an old wool factory, and there's some lovely rooms in there. So we'll have 2 breakout classrooms and then a giant room, which could also, so we could have up to 4 breakouts at a time, depending on what people want to learn about.
And then we're booking, we're reserving a block of rooms. Is that correct? At one of the local hotels?
Thank you. We've got rooms set aside at a couple of hotels, the Grand Hotel and also the Holiday Inn, which I think used to be the Red Lion at one point, if you're familiar with Salem. We're also taking ideas for T-shirts. Some of the things that people that might be interested in is learning how to get arrested, if that's something that interests you as times heat up. We're also thinking that we might need a Civics 101 class to teach people how government works, because a lot of people don't seem to get that, at least on social media. I'm not seeing any more questions, so if there's anything else that I'm missing, just ask me. Where is
somebody asked about tabling opportunities.
Well, I don't see any reason why to say no to that. I think we probably could open up. Yeah, we'd have to talk about that. That's something that hasn't come up yet, so I'm not sure, but
Well,
I think
several people are making suggestions, and I just want to encourage you to go to our the link and fill out the survey rather than just putting it in the chat, because there's so many ideas coming across here, and the document that we'll be using will be from the survey. So that's the best place to put your wonderful ideas. And
I saw the remark about rural organizing, and we have Eric Lindquist, who's a very experienced grassroots organizing person who is going to try to condense a 2-day class into a breakout for us. So we are going to tap on that, and we can expand on it if people want more. We really want this to be more about what you want to learn than what we want to give you. Or, we don't want to have to decide it for you. So let us know what you would like to do.
It's also really important that, I mean, we held one of these in Eugene years ago. I want to say, gosh, 2018, I think it was, or 19. Anyway, and not Eugene. We held one in Eugene, right? That was right. And then we held one in Central Oregon as well.
We had one in Ashland.
Yeah, we had one in Ashland first, and then Eugene, and then one in Central Oregon. I'm just going to say what I remember, besides the new skills, was just meeting everyone face to face and having the social connection to meet these people that care about the things that I care about. I just felt like I'd found my tribe of people at these events. And so just to go and see people and sit and have dinner with them, have coffee with them in the morning, get to know people you can call when you need support for your organization, for your Indivisible group. It's a great thing. So please consider coming.
And we don't have a sign up. Mark it on your calendar. We'll be getting a sign up form out to you for the convention soon.
Right.
We're trying to get our schedule lined up a little bit better so you'll know what to expect on which days.
Right.
Okay, so with that, we're going to move over to April 5th. We assume everybody's got plans for this. If you are hosting one, you can put it in the chat. Tell us where it's going to be. If you have questions or concerns or anything like that, this is a good chance to share it with a group of people, because we've all been wrestling with this. I know down here in Medford, we were trying to work with the 50501 group, 5051 group, I guess. And then there was a lot of things that came up, a lot of different concerns. Where should we be? How should we police it? What type of, precautions should we take? So I'd love to open up the conversation at this point to people to talk a little bit about their experience on trying to pull this together. And then at our next meeting, hopefully we'll talk about how successful we all were.
And also, Indivisible National is holding a 1-hour de-escalation training. It won't be as valuable as one that you attend in person, but it will at least give you some basics. So check out indivisible.org and sign up for that. It's right on the front of their page.
Yeah, Debbie's put it in the chat, I think.
Yeah.
Wednesday. So who's holding a group meeting, and what are you guys expecting? Or a group's an event on April 5th?
Well, the last I've heard, there's like 45 events. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Multiples in
there's
different cities.
I thought 65. I thought there was over 60 now.
no 40 in Oregon, 45. So
Yeah.
Hillary, you have 300 already in Hillsborough. Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think we're at 500 signups down here in Jackson County right now.
No, we bumped up to over 600. I was just going to look. Every time I look, there's 20 more. I've never seen anything like this for an event as far as signups. The signups on Mobilize are usually a small fraction of the number of people who show up. So currently, we're at just under 600, not quite. But if you multiply that times 5, that'll be about the number of people in Medford alone.
Right on. Anybody have great sign ideas or anything like that you want to share with the rest of us?
One thing I wanted to share, and then I see Michael has his hand up, is I'd encourage people to form sign making parties. It can be a great opportunity. You still got a couple days, even if it's kind of an informal thing, but all you need is someone to host, someone to bring sign making materials and some samples and snacks. So Michael and then Sarah. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share some of the dynamics that we've gone through in trying to plan for the rally on Saturday. I was involved. I've been involved with a planning group for a rally. We're in a very red county, rural county. It's a very different dynamic up here than a lot of other places in the state. And we really don't want to alienate our neighbors. We want to draw them in. And so the group that I am working with, although I've been participating in Indivisible's planning calls, I took their advice and really try and customized it and adapted it for our location and our situation and the type of demographics that we have. And so we are very firmly committed that we want to host a nonpartisan type of rally that is very welcoming to all kinds of folks that happen to have real concerns about where we're heading, real concerns about what the impacts of the decisions in DC are going to have on us locally. And we ran into some friction, I guess you would call it, with the local Wallowa County Democratic Party, who wanted to adopt and follow 5051. And they have a history of convening demonstrations and protests. And so it was looking like, are we going to have two different rallies here? What's going to be happening? And we've been working for the last week trying to work through our differences and see if we can come together with a common goal, common purpose, and an agreed upon format for the rally. They had concerns, they're an official PAC as a representative of the Democratic Party, and that created some legal questions for them. But it looks like we've succeeded in coming up with a agreed upon format. We've gone out and we're trying to recruit from a broad swath of people, undoubtedly many who have voted for Trump. We've got outreach to VFW, and they are very concerned and they want to come. We're doing outreach to seniors. Undoubtedly, most of them voted for Trump, but they're very concerned with their Social Security. Had the Democratic Party reached out to them, those voters would probably have been repelled just because of habit and patterns. And I really would encourage folks in rural red areas to think about strategies for welcoming and including and allowing for a wide range of folks to participate that have concerns. And many, many people have concerns, not just Democrats or folks on the left side of the spectrum. So I don't know how it's all going to turn out. I'm hopeful, and it's looking encouraging. I was able to tune into Indivisible's rural, I think it's rural caucus maybe meetings, and they have a new toolkit for rural communities. I think it's going to be really helpful. One of our follow-up events just a week later after Saturday is we're going to have a town hall, nonpartisan town hall meeting focused on healthcare impacts. And we've got the county commissioners there. We've got all the heads of the healthcare centers from our county there. It's going to be a neutrally facilitated forum focused on accurate information and identifying what the potential or likely impacts are going to be on healthcare services within our county. And we're really hoping to engage our county commissioners in champion our needs and carrying them up the chain. And our congressional rep is Cliff Bentz. He happens to be on the House Energy and Commerce Committee that oversees healthcare. He's also on the Rural Healthcare caucus. And we are really going to be putting pressure on him about the impacts of potential Medicaid cuts on the county. So, you know, we're trying. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off, but hopefully we'll have some build some momentum for the future.
Michael, where are you
you're from?
located?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know.
We're like, who are you?
I'm in Wallowa County, up in Northeast Oregon.
Awesome.
What's the closest town to you? Like, where is your rally going to be?
You know, we only have 7,000 people in the whole county. We're going to meet at the county courthouse in Enterprise, Oregon, and we're going to have a neutral, mutually acceptable MC, a pastor.
Wow.
And she is going to send out announcements to her congregation because we're doing it on a nonpartisan basis. I've invited and gotten the commitment of the county commissioners to attend and listen to the concerns of their constituents. They may or may not choose to speak. We're trying to bring all the interests together that have a concern with what's going on. So it's
Kudos
we'll
to
see.
you.
Yeah,
Kudos.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's inspiring. All right.
I
I
think
Sarah
Linda's
did
hand
have
has
her
been up.
hand up. We don't know what happened to her. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Sarah, go ahead and put your hand back up if you still have
Sure.
something you want to contribute. And for the moment, I'll move on to Linda. Linda, go ahead.
And a trainer?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
I just have a quick suggestion for the Coinvention in June, since I assume that there may be members of Indivisible who might be affected by all the cuts in terms of their income, that perhaps those of us that are in Salem might be willing to offer our guest room so that they don't have to spend money staying in a hotel and be able to participate and contribute in the Coinvention. And it's just a suggestion.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful idea. Would you mind writing to us and giving us your contact info? Because I'm pretty sure that we're going to want to offer that. And I'm going to be coming over to talk to Vicky in the next few days. She's part of the Indivisible team there in Salem. But it'd be nice to know if there was a base of people that would offer that.
Awesome.
Great. And we'll move on to Henry next. Henry, go ahead and unmute. You're on mute there, buddy.
There we go. You asked about a sign, and I'm very proud of my sign. It's from my Vietnam era days. Power to the people.
Love it. Thank you so
Love
much. That's pretty awesome.
Aged very well. So to
Yeah,
say.
totally.
Okay, Kat.
Hi, everybody. Just a quick question on, I don't even know who I would contact. Like, I go onto the Democrat.Oregon, Democrat National websites, and there's like nothing on there that's pertinent to what's going on. I mean, who do I contact to say, if I go to the Democratic National website, I want to be able to click on the links. What is every executive order that, Rump and Musk are doing? Why is it illegal? What are the Dems doing? As far as I know, they're just giving pretty speeches to Congress, which is meaningless because the other side doesn't care. And a lot of people I know, we just feel very, it's like, what can we do? I would like to see links that say, contact Indivisible. And I've been trying to search and I don't have any idea how to like join or who is there an individual visible in my area? Vote Forward, Activate America. I write postcards, I write letters. That's something I can do. But if the Democrats that have their websites can't even put out there what's going on very specifically, what they're doing besides giving pretty speeches. What are the lawsuits? And somebody mentioned in the chat, when the Democrats were in control and the Republicans weren't, the Republicans still managed to stall everything. So why aren't we stalling everything? And I think so many people feel, what's the point? I mean, I have to go to Reels on Facebook to find out what's going on, and I'm exhausted. So that would be, and I just signed up to go to this thing in Scappoose on April 5th. But, I don't know, is there permits? Is there illegal things about blocking sidewalks? I mean, no way am I getting arrested. I think a lot of people may not want to go to these protests because, I mean, what protects us and what are the rules and regulations? So I just signed up, but I'm not seeing any information coming back.
Kat, when you signed up, did you get a Mobilize reply back? When you sign up on Mobilize, you should have gotten an email, and it would have the organizer's email that you can contact them and ask those questions.
Okay, so I need to
Yeah,
check
look up,
email. Okay.
look up your response, and you can follow up on that.
Yeah, and one thing that I heard in this sort of subtext of that comment was there's both an inside game and an outside game that we can play with respect to the Democratic Party. And, Indivisible is largely focused on the outside game. I'd also, encourage us to think about how do we educate ourselves to get more involved in the inside game for people who want to do that and actually, get involved. I've known several people who've been very active in various groups who actually have become staffers for senators and congresspeople and stuff. And so now they're on the inside, carrying our values with them and are in a place to help. Like, Cory Booker did not talk for 25 hours without an enormous amount of staff help producing, because he wasn't reading the phone book. He was actually giving an impassioned speech about the history and place of America. So if you haven't heard that, his comments, I would really encourage you to dive in there. I did see, Sarah, you raised your hand and then dropped back out.
Thank you.
Feel free to hop in here. Mary Beth, go ahead.
I just want to say I also have some trepidation about being arrested. I have never been arrested, don't really want to go there. However, at this point in our whatever this mess is called, it may come to that because the protest has to happen. We have to make this show of people power. If they arrest us, it's about us saying we believe in this so strongly that we're even willing to put ourselves at risk of being arrested. The alternative is they just pile us into camps because, oh, we spoke up against this man and said, this is unacceptable. That may happen anyway, but at least we will have made our power show. I can't sit back and not do something because I'm afraid I will be arrested. And I'm not saying that you're saying you won't do it. I'm just saying for myself, I feel so strongly I have to be there. I have to, and it will be, yes, peaceful, civil show of people power, that we are not in agreement with this. But if we get arrested for doing that, that is hopefully something that will spark other people to join us. Just like the granny brigades in the Portland riots, when they were tear gassing the people, and the grannies went with their yellow t-shirts and said, we are grandmothers and we are here to protect the protesters. Well, I got my gray hair, I'll be there. you know? Maybe that's my sign. I got my gray hair, I'm here.
Well said, Mary Beth. Thank you. And in the history of fascism, the biggest protection is numbers, right? The more people that come out the earliest possible, the best societies have withstood fascism. It's when you think, oh, well, this will blow over, it'll get better, I don't need to be the one in front. That's when people lose their rights. Sarah, go ahead.
Hello. So I recently got involved. I don't have an Indivisible group. There's one in Clackamas that I've went to their online meetings. I've come to these. I've joined a few protests here and there. My conflicts of time make me kind of just a rogue agent by myself. But one thing that has helped me since I've started getting involved like 8 weeks ago at the Sieg is when I lost my mind and delved into this, is educating myself about nonviolent civil resistance and seeing that there are so many more options than just protesting. And I think that it's vital that all of the people who are at the protest who are new to this, and that's their first protest, like it was mine, have resources to be able to just watch a YouTube video of Erica Chenoweth or Gene Sharp or Hardy Merriman, who are giving a lot more in depth about what we can do, so that we feel empowered. Because I know I was very scared in the beginning, and I was like, "What do we do?" And now you can see what we can do all over the place with multiple things that aren't just protests. Because the longer we do protest, the weaker it gets. If every day we have a protest, so we just need to keep, switching up our strategies and stuff. Yeah, switching up our strategies and our tactics. And I think that if people had that information, if they were to go home and watch a YouTube video and see the science and the research and the history of it and start educating themselves, they would feel more empowered. And if those people went to their Indivisible groups with those ideas, we could definitely make a lot of change. So anyways, the whole point of that is I made flyers to hand out by myself. I'm going rogue, but it's very nonpartisan, but it's just basic information about civil resistance, nonviolent civil resistance. I tried to keep it very neutral and welcoming, so that people understand why we have to be nonviolent and how we have to look at this like a war, with strategy and tactic, and understand what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and for what reason. So anyways, I just wanted to share that that's what I'll be doing, is running around handing out these pamphlets so that people can find more information and educate themselves and bring it back to their groups, whatever groups that is, whether it's Indivisible or working family parties or whatever groups they may be involved in. Because it's, like I said, I try to keep it broad enough and neutral enough with just basic information to get people's feet in the door so they can feel more empowered and more educated.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. And you're getting a lot of interest in chat. If you could please put those names, or if you have the links, if you could put them in the chat, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Nikki, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Nancy, as you see, and we just had our first East Lynn County Indivisible meeting on Sunday in Lebanon, Oregon. And it was the very first meeting, and 53 people came. They were not all Democrats. There are a lot of independents there, people who don't want to be aligned with any particular political party, but they all were very concerned about what is happening in the country, as we all should be. And I just wanted to say that I live in a very red area of my purple county of Lynn County, and 5 years ago, I decided to put some political signs in my yard because I didn't like what was going on. And this year, or back in 2024, September, I became a neighborhood leader for the Democratic Party here in Lynn County. And I just feel like this is happening, the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany. I see it step by step is what they're doing, and we have to stop it. and I'm going to go to Salem and protest, but we need more things to do beside protest. I don't know what they are. I've never been a political person before, but anybody have any other ideas? Shout it out. You know, I know I appreciated watching Senator Merkley this evening talking. It's horrifying what he was telling us is happening. And it's just, I feel powerless other than doing what I am doing, you know, putting my signs up, talking, saying things. So anybody have any ideas out there?
Well, you're doing the right thing, building the community and reaching
Yeah.
out. And yeah, we are so much more powerful when we're working together. So
Yeah.
thank you, Nate.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity.
Fantastic. Dawn, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. This is the first time I've been to a meeting like this. I have taught political science for 30 years, and I have studied Russia and comparative politics and how democracies backslide and how they can go into autocracy. So I just want to say, and I live in McMinnville, and I'm willing to lend any sort of expertise I have. I never have gone to a protest, but I went to two 50-51s down in Salem, and I want to tell you how empowering it was. And I was afraid too that, gosh, what do we get arrested with for tear gas? The cops just, as long as you're not violent and you're not blocking the street or the sidewalk, it's incredible. And there were so many people from across age groups, genders, ethnicities. It was really incredible. It was so empowering. And instead of, sitting alone in my house and going, oh my God, we're going into a fascist state, we can still get out there. Still have a free press. We still can assemble peacefully. And, we have the right to have our voices heard. And I agree with what you're saying that, the organized Democratic Party seems to be not able to get itself together enough. But if enough people, grassroots organizing, are together, and they do have to have goals. I did teach a class on civil society and how to organize grassroots. And I don't have experience, but I have the academic whatever. So I can help, and I also want to learn from all of you because you have way more experience than I do. So I just want to say thank you, and I so appreciate this group, and it's feeling really wonderful to see all the people out there who want to try to do something about this, horror that's happening to us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Dawn, will you please email us at coinleadership@gmail.com and let us have your information if you're interested in doing that at the Coinvention?
Yes, absolutely. That's
Yep.
why I was saying I
Thank you.
could do something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Go ahead, Bobby. You're muted, Bobby. Bobby, you're muted.
Bobby,
Bobby, you're
Bobby,
muted.
you're muted. She's just going on and on.
Bobby, we can't hear you. You're muted. I guess I'm going to have to go ahead to.
Okay,
There we
fine.
go.
Here I am, sorry. I just wanted to speak in favor of protests because, and it follows from what the previous person says, protests are very empowering. They make you feel like you are actually doing something, and the something that you're doing might have an impact. You're also there with all kinds of other people, and that also is very empowering to see the energy and to feel the energy of the group. And going to a protest might be difficult, but after you go to the first protest or the second protest or maybe the third protest, it becomes a lot easier. And one of the things that people are saying now is that, some people are saying is that we can still have protests. And we have to take advantage of the fact that we can have protests, because if we don't take advantage of that fact now, it might be several months from now that we will not be able to have protests. But the more that we protest now, the harder it will be for the government to take it away from us.
100% agree. Yes. And the one other thing I want to share, especially with this group, is one thing that we always look for at Indivisible Oregon, if we participate in a protest, and if you're part of a group, I'd encourage you to do this, is to make sure that if you get a chance to get to the mic, that you let all of those people there know, okay, you've come to this protest, fantastic. What are some things you can do tomorrow and the next day? And that's when you can introduce people to the importance of calling their senators, showing up for town halls, doing all of the other things in the Indivisible toolkit between one big protest and the next big protest. So this is our way of finding those people who are ready to take that next step. Go ahead, Tia.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. To add on to what you have said, one of the things that I struggled with at the beginning of all of this was why bother protesting in my small town of Florence, Oregon? Because there's not a lot that we can do, right? But when we protest, we're letting the people around us know that this isn't normal and something's wrong. And it's really important to not normalize this, because our silence just makes everything feel like it's normal. And so that's one of the most important things. And then on top of that, I'm a lesbian and I'm going to be out there on the street, and there's a lot to be lost. Right, there's a lot of risk in that, but it's really important. There's safety in numbers. It's important for the community to know that I exist. And it's the safest time for me to be involved right now, while I still can. And so it is definitely something to be thoughtful of, and to remember that the people that we're all putting our necks out on the line. And but it's that courage that makes us different from the opposition. And then finally, I just wanted to put a shout out to groundnews.com. If others are not familiar with it, it is a phenomenal resource for doing headline comparison and analysis of, it's a bias checker, it's a factuality checker of how reliable the sources are. It'll tell you the distribution of those headlines. It'll tell you how right-leaning, left-leaning, center it is. It'll tell you if there's a blind spot for the left or right. Phenomenal resource. You can use it for free, but if you want the nerdy, gritty stuff, there's a small subscription. And I can't say enough about it, but it is a phenomenal resource to try to get people to understand how the news is functioning for others and not for others. It's really important. And that was groundnews.com.
You know that ground news. Thank you, Tia. Patty.
Yeah, hi, I'm Patty Kramer. I've been involved with Indivisible for about 4 or 5 years, so I feel like I'm with my family right now. I mean, it's a tribe. But I wanted to just comment on a couple of things that have come up from folks in the last couple of minutes here. First of all, I want to add to what Bobby said. The added value of going to a protest, besides, feeling like you're doing something, is that you are meeting people who can, tell you about different groups, different actions other than just protesting, to keep you involved. I think that's really important. And I wanted to ask folks like Kat Ross, who wanted more information, or Sarah Teeple, who was a young woman who, again, wanted more information. Nancy Cockrell from Lebanon, who, is there kind of in a red town by herself. How did you guys find out about this meeting here, the Coinversation? Because this, once I started becoming involved with Indivisible and with Coin, I tell you, I have more information than I can actually handle. So I have the opposite problem that you guys do, but I just would be interested in knowing how folks who feel like they want more information, more than you can get off the democraticparty.org website, how you found out about this resource.
Thank you, Patty. And I see you, Henry, Wendy, Marcia, Linda, Catherine, Richard, and Kat. But unfortunately, we are over time and we need to wrap up. So if I can throw it to the coin leaders, we can keep the call open a little bit for some discussion afterwards for people who can stay, but we need to respect people's time. So
if you have a question or a concern, please put it in the chat. We will save it and we will go over it. We'll try to get back to you if there's a question, if at all possible. And then this is recorded.